Hey everybody, it's Will, aka ZombieNikon, and I'm here with
Jake from State Farm.
And we're gonna talk about stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna skip this song. I feel like that's our intro song, and I need to set something up to where it's like, oh, how's that sound? That's good. That's good. That works out fine.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like we haven't really figured out our mic placement yet, and that's real annoying to me. But I don't know. Hopefully, it sounds pretty good.
Week 3.
Yeah. So how you been, my friend?
Been good. Been doing real good.
Yeah.
Just hanging out. Hung out on my back porch today for like an hour with the kids.
Oh yeah,
because
it's
enjoying
like
the good weather.
Fucking 90,000 degrees outside.
It's like 79.
Yeah, sweating like crazy. I don't like it. I hate hot weather. But I feel like you're gonna be so proud of me. I watched the Falcon and Winter Soldier. All 3 episodes yesterday.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen the 3rd one yet.
Yeah,
we're waiting to watch that one.
It's okay. It feels like something is missing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like there's just something that's not there.
Well, that's the original Captain America.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's missing right there.
I heard the guy that's playing him, the guy that's playing John Walker, the new Captain America, he's getting death threats and shit.
Yeah, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that single-handedly is insane to me that someone cannot disassociate a TV show and a person playing a character that you're not supposed to like on purpose with reality.
You were not wrong. You were not wrong, man. Yeah. Like I don't know. I was watching through it and everything like that, and I feel like there's nothing in it that's just what's the word I'm looking for? So the way that Bree was telling me, you were talking to your lovely wife when you guys were watching it, and apparently she thought that you were overanalyzing stuff in it. Like I watched the C-130 scene at the very beginning where he like just dives through and they he opens up the back of the C-130, the tail of the C-130, right, where they dump all their gear and stuff out and dive out, and the dude's just like, "Hey man, how you doing? Look, you're the Falcon.
Yeah, really nice little level right there. Right there.
Nice little level." Like there wouldn't be fucking wind. I've ridden on those for hours. I've been on one. I was on one for 36 straight hours on one of my deployments, right, and I could barely hear the dude sitting next to me with the doors closed, let alone with that shit open.
Yep.
So that's for 3 minutes and 48 seconds into the first episode, I was like, this is bullshit. I fucking hate this. It's stupid. And then it goes all the way through and gets to the point where the Winter Soldier is going to his therapy session. The relationship he has with his therapist, like him and his therapist, oh my God. So
it's
fucking
phenomenal.
amazing. Yeah.
It's good.
Dude, I love it so much. It's epic.
My
so
theory is new Cap is Hydra, and they're gonna do the Captain America Hydra timeline with him.
Oh,
that's my theory because that was a big deal.
Yeah. So I was looking into it because I don't know too much about like Captain America's story or any of that stuff, but John Walker and his counterpart, Battlestar.
Yep. They
are like eventually supposed to be super soldiers, I'm pretty sure, and like I think there's someone in the government or they are. From what I read, what's the word? Like creating super soldiers to give the new Captain America something to fight to like try and appease people.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like it's a whole huge like underground thing, and it feels like that's a little like, it seems pretty obvious. And I think if you've ever read any of the comic books, and like I just looked up on Wikipedia, like it kind of, it does feel obvious, like, and I think that's what makes it different. When I went through WandaVision and rewatching through all of the Marvel movies, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I have no life, it feels like you're leaning towards something. It feels like you're going towards something, right? And in this one, it just kind of like, it seems very sporadic. It's almost like what we do right here, like where we're just bullshitting with each other. Like when Falcon and the Winter Soldier are both on screen together, it feels like they're just kind of bullshitting, like as actors do. Like they're just improvising lines, and so it kind of like, all right, whatever, get on the plane. Like,
what are you, White Panther now? Actually, it's White Wolf.
It's White Wolf. Yeah, that was actually a good line. Spent some time in Wakanda, now you're White Panther. Oh my God. And then fucking Falcon sneaks up on him after that. Like that in the very next thing.
Oh, yeah. And,
so weird.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier is a great character. I really like how they're actually showing how tortured he is with his past experiences as he's remembering everything,
Yeah.
Like you said, he's having to go through therapy and actually show that he has to, like, make amends with all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see how they flesh out a bunch of that with his characters and things like that.
Yeah, and maybe it's just me. Like, I feel like I'm going through that phase where that everyone went through where they were talking about how, like, the shows seem super slow, and maybe it's because I waited till WandaVision was all the way out before watching through most of it, you know. But it does feel very slow. It feels sporadic and it feels slow at the same time.
Right.
And I don't know how to explain that. Like, it jumps around quite a bit. There's like all these, like, they're just cramming so much stuff into this universe. Like, they brought back the blonde chick that was like in love with Captain America, the daughter of like Agent Carter.
Right.
And then, or not daughter, niece of Agent Carter. They brought her back. They brought back my boy Zemo, and actually gave him a good part as like Baron Zemo, which is a major like villain.
Right.
Super genius guy, love him to death. And then they brought obviously, you know, Falcon, Winter Soldier. They brought back that random villain from Captain America and the Winter Soldier, the movie. The French guy that like takes over the boat, and Cap just like dives out by himself and then just beats the shit out of everyone on the boat.
Right. Because it's
all
Captain
the while,
America things.
Yeah. And all the while, Black Widow is trying to hook him up with a date. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like they're just shoving so much stuff at you, and it's only been 3 episodes, and I think they just need to just fucking slow your roll a little bit. Like, give us a villain, give us, you know, plot.
Right, and again, kind of like we talked about last time, is the joy of having 50-minute episodes, and 8 of them is you have that room to kind of grow your content, you know, and kind of you introduce Falcon's entire like family and like why he's invested with them and other such things.
Yeah.
So you can take a step back, and then your action sequences will feel more intense.
Yeah.
And you don't want to risk it being too slow, especially being Marvel. Their pacing's always a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to kind of keep that going, so to say. You know.
You're not wrong. I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Rambo.
Oh, man. Dude, he's got the story arc for it. He's got that, like, tortured superhero vibe going on.
In the first one, he tried not to kill people. In the second one, he's using a bow like Hawkeye. You know, it's got all the elements right there. You know?
True. In the third one, he murders everyone like Iron Man does.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
It's so good. It's solid.
Yeah, it's solid. Rambo Cinematic Universe for Marvel right there.
Yeah, get it done.
I can only imagine the Disney cut of Rambo, like 2 through like 5, you know?
Oh, man.
Mommy, why are flowers sprouting from those people's chests? You know, oh god.
Oh my god. Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. This one's only supposed to have 6 episodes.
Is it only 6?
From what I read online, I guess the Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is only supposed to get 6 episodes, so they're halfway done now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could be wrong. They told us that Game of Thrones was going to get more episodes, I thought, and it was going to be longer, but fuck those guys.
Right, and the other thing that I'm enjoying in it right now is how they address racial undertones without being too pushy about it. And I feel like that brings more attention to it than just shoving those subjects into your face over and over and over again.
Falcon.
They bring light to it, and they actually bring like hey, this impacts people, but they keep on with the story. They keep on with their lives.
Yeah. Well, like Falcon goes up to a kid, and the kid's like, hey, my dad said that you're the Black Falcon. And he was like, Black Falcon? What are you, black kid? And he's like, oh, and see, I got him. That's why it's just Falcon. And then he like leaves.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that's a big thing because we've talked about that in the past of where I feel like the best thing you can do is just show that people are living their lives with this scrutiny and having to deal with it versus pushing it too hard and forcing it down your throat, because then you feel like you have the pushback reaction.
Well, it gets awkward, right? And I know that sounds really bad to say, but it does. It does make it awkward for a lot of people. And I think doing it to a point where it makes it seem like Falcon is just Falcon. He's Falcon. It doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter who he is. He is Falcon now.
100%.
Like, that actor is always going to be Falcon, just like Robert Downey Jr. is always going to be Iron Man in people's eyes, and John Walker is always not going to be Captain America in everyone's eyes.
Exactly. And again, it just goes back to, if you push too hard, you have people who innately push back just because that's their characters.
Yeah.
But if you put it out there subtly and you make it just a thing that they're living through, people are more likely to accept it and integrate it and go, oh man, maybe we need to talk about this.
And that actually is moving into a lovely little topic into D&D, because Wizards of the Coast, the guys that make Dungeons & Dragons, have been pushing pretty hard for including, I guess, equality and all of those things that people need to care about into their gameplay. So they introduced like a session 0 where you talk about stuff that would be like really hard for people to deal with, I guess is the best way to describe it, without getting into too much detail and all the gory bits, you know. But you can approach those topics, and if someone has an issue with those topics, you can say, okay, not a problem, not putting it into my session as a dungeon master. I don't want you to feel, uncomfortable because it's all about having fun, right?
Right.
And I really appreciate that, actually. That's in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There's an entire chapter about how to approach those topics with your players.
Right.
And I honestly, I really like that. And then I also like the fact that they originally I was kind of against it because it felt a little weird. It felt like people were going to start min-maxing it, but then they changed the different races and getting bumps and pluses and minuses to their abilities, right? So like Goliaths always got a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution. That was what it always was. And then they were always kind of dumb, brutish, barbarians, right? But I enjoy playing Goliaths, and I also enjoy playing the wizard classes and the sorcerer classes. So now I can take my +2, and instead of putting it in strength, I could put it in intelligence or charisma and be a warlock. And I think that's an amazing thing. It opens up so much variety for players to be a race that they want to be, and then explore other avenues of things.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. I think they're doing a great job with that stuff.
Right.
It's fucking amazing. And keep at it, Wizards, is what I'm saying.
No, I think it's a good way to do it, and doing a session 0 is really a positive impact in the game. I do think during that session 0, instead of necessarily talking about specific topics, you may want to kind of feel the group out and be like, okay, do you want to be challenged morally throughout the game?
That's true. True.
Because, and again, we've talked about this before, is if a hero's in a perfect world where the most they have to do is go slay a dragon to be a hero, are they really a hero?
Yeah.
Versus someone who goes out and they say, "Oh, you peddle in people's souls," and then they fight that person because that's morally wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And even though that's a sensitive subject for people and it might trigger some people, it's the difference between going, oh, hey, this is an easy candy world where everybody's happy and nothing nefarious happens, versus actually saying, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah,
what
versus
would your character do?
Versus my world in Finrath, where currently there are goblins that are slaves, hardcore, actual slaves. Humans get trafficked in slavery through the 9 hells all the time, so people have to deal with that. Werewolves are persecuted because they're ravenous and they rampaged 100 and something years ago in the history, and people are just nah, fuck you guys. They're all collared and mandated. It's pretty fucked up. And then constructs now, all of the new warforged constructs that I built and that I'm implementing, which is your character has one, Whistler. They have all kinds of stuff that they deal with.
Right. And the difference here is you still give the players the opportunity to end those things.
Yeah.
You're not saying this is going to exist in my game always. You're saying you as the hero, if you choose to end this and to crusade against this, you can end it.
Yeah, exactly. My wife always pushes for werewolf rights programs in game and stuff like that, because she loves werewolves. It's one of her favorite fantasy beasts, right?
Exactly.
And she's had several characters that have tried to end it and done stuff like that. And then right now, like I said, you dealing with all the construct hate and everyone just mistreating them because they treat them as literally less than human.
Right.
Which kind of mirrors a lot of the stuff that's happening in modern times. And again, not to bring down the mood or anything, but yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
No, it's extremely messed up. It's something that I think there's people out there that have to deal with. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with anything like that personally, but there are people out there that have to deal with it, right? And again, I do think drawing that line at session 0 and saying, okay, what is an absolute? We cannot deal with this subject because it is too emotionally triggering for you, right? Triggering. Because there's a difference between causing tension, right, and causing a moral dilemma, and then just flat out causing someone to have issues with something that's happening. You know what I mean?
To literally, and I mean, the only word I could think of is to literally trigger someone. You're just doing it to be an asshole at that point,
right?
Especially if someone has a topic. Oh my god.
Exactly. And that's
some
the
terrible
difference, right?
DMs, man. All right, we gotta get out. So, bringing it up a little bit.
You're good.
So
heavy stuff.
We're gonna talk about art today.
We're gonna talk about art. Okay.
And a lot of the shit that's going on recently. So, if you haven't seen it, going into this topic, and I think part of the reason that a lot of this, the racial stuff and a lot of the other things that are on our mind right now is because Lil Nas X, a musician. I'm not a huge fan of his music or anything, but a lot of people are and connect with him as an artist. released Montero. I found out what the name of the song was because we had talked about this recently. And in the song, he does a lot of very provocative things with religion, and he is a gay man and goes through a lot of that stuff. And a lot of people have issues with it. And you've seen the song, and I've watched the song. I'm not a fan of his music. I didn't like Old Town Road. I don't know any of his other music other than those 2 songs, and that's because both of those songs had a major impact on our, millennial minds.
And controversial.
And they're extremely controversial, stuff like that, especially Lil Nas. On top of Lil Nas X coming out, there was a huge controversy in the Magic the Gathering world where an artist posted a picture on DeviantArt in 2014 of Nico Bolas. You know how I feel about my Nico Bolas. His favorite Grixis. Let's get it. And it was found out that one of the freelance artists had taken that artwork and used it on the card Crux of Fate. I don't know if you want to pull it up. I have pictures of it right here if you want to see it. And I can add them in there. So this is the reprint of Crux of Fate. Wow, my lisp is hard today. And you can see how Nico Bolas has 5 fingers, and I don't know if you know anything about Nico Bolas, but he usually has 3 fingers, which is how they know he literally basically stole it from this guy. This is the DeviantArt picture.
Right.
And again, for those of you that can't see anything right now with your, ear balls, it will be posted on my YouTube later, probably this Wednesday. But yeah, so you can see that this artist he plagiarized. He plagiarized the art, is what I'm getting at. There's a whole article. I'm not going to read through the whole thing here. But so yeah, just a lot of controversy in the art world today. And on top of all of that, my lovely wife emailed me on our mediocre advice at outlook.com with an article about how unfair the art world is. And I don't know how much you know about art or the big art scene in New York and Washington and places like that. Yeah. Right. So hashtag mediocre experts.
One museum in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I was going to talk about too. It goes into a lot of different details. It's the 9 reasons why the art world is unfair. And so let's get into this. So we'll start with the first topic. Lil Nas X, right? How do you feel about the song? Do you think it is extremely controversial? Is it bad? What do you think?
Well, watching the music video, I have a young child, and I did make the decision that he can't watch the music video until he is able to comprehend and really process those things more of an adult, right?
Makes sense.
I'm not going to be oh, you can't watch it till you're 18 or anything like that, but once he shows a certain level of emotional maturity...
Well, let's clarify this too. Your son is 5, about to be 6.
Yes, yeah.
Little Randy baby. So... Yeah, obviously. I agree.
Once he has an emotional maturity, whatever content he chooses to ingest is his free thinking action that he gets to take.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I'll watch it again. I'll probably listen to the song. I'm not going to boycott it intentionally or anything like that.
Yeah, neither
but I don't necessarily want to have it up with a small child in the room. But I don't think that song was ever created for kids to be in the room around.
True.
Right. So I don't think that's taken anything away from it. I do think it's controversial on purpose, and the fact that everybody's talking about it means that Lil Nas wins.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact quote from him, but that is exactly what he said. He did it to be controversial. Yep. He did it to bring light to issues that he has faced as a gay black man in America, which is 2 huge minorities there that a lot of people have to suffer through stuff. And no, I agree. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Lil Nas's music. I don't listen to him or anything like that. I have a wide range of music tastes, but it just never appealed to me. It's just, I just think it's crazy that people blow their minds over stuff like this all the time.
Well, and again, if you don't like the content and it really hurts you, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is there's death metal bands out there that all their music videos are insanely satanic and other things like that, and people don't rally against that
fucking AC/DC and stuff. Highway to Hell?
Yeah.
Is that a song by AC/DC?
Yeah, Highway to Hell.
Come on the highway. Yeah, exactly. No one fucking went crazy over that. Well, I guess they probably did. I'm guaranteed they probably did. I mean, they thought D&D was satanic in the 70s, so...
Yeah.
There's plenty of music out there that did that. Even, and I was talking to someone on Facebook, one of the people that I was friends with in high school, and she posted a meme that was showing Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco,
right,
in his song Emperor's New Clothes, where he literally transforms into a demon lot of demonic iconography there, and then it shows Lil Nas, giving a strip dance to the devil in Montero, and they were comparing the two, and they were like, well, when a white guy does it, it's okay, but when a black guy does it, a gay black man does it, it's not okay. And I'm kind of 50-50 on that. There's a lot different. There's certain times where an artist is making something to be controversial, like they are doing it on purpose, and I don't know if that is artistic more so than you were trying to engage a response. Does that make sense? Right. Like you were putting yourself out there in that way. You're giving a lap dance to the devil, right, to get a response back from someone. Right. Usually a negative response.
Well, and see, maybe I'm a little bit desensitized because I've seen the original South Park where Saddam Hussein and Satan were sleeping together. And like so maybe for me it's like maybe I'm a little bit desensitized to it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of millennials are.
Probably, and again, it's meant to do that, right? Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's meant to elicit a response.
It's the same thing as the new Captain America, right? Mm-hmm. He is built to make you not like him. No matter how much, he's not a terrible person if you actually listen to what he's saying and stuff like that. But everything about him is built so that you feel uncomfortable while he's on screen. Yeah, and people are pissed off about that and giving that man death threats. Yeah. So it's a level of
because he has a rage. He has a rage inside of him that you can see. Where even his friend Battlestar gets on screen and is like, "Hey man, there's some." Fights that you can't just punch your way out of. Right. And then you could just see this seething rage inside that dude. And admittedly, if I were an actor like that and I evoked such a response where you were sending me death threats, I'm doing my job right.
No, you're doing your job 100% right.
Lil Nas is bringing light to topics that
people don't want to talk about.
People don't want to talk about. Right. He's doing his job right.
Right. I do say that it's intentional. Whether you agree with it or not, it's intentional. Yeah, and if you don't agree with it, don't consume it.
Yeah, and I just want to make people aware of that. Like, he didn't do it as an artist. He didn't do it because I'm sharing my art with the world. He's doing it to invoke a response in other people and to bring light to subjects like that. Right. It's the same reason a lot of artists use a lot of different mediums to do that kind of thing. And that's when, to me, you're not producing just artwork anymore. You are eliciting a response from people using your art.
Right. Well, and it's people get on platforms all the time, and I think, and again, I guess that's the difference, right? Is Captain America does it in a very subtle way that doesn't make you rally against it, and in that way, it makes people more comfortable with those subjects to be able to talk about them, right? Yeah. Lil Nas's video is on the opposite side of the spectrum, where it makes you uncomfortable on purpose. So that people talk about the subjects, right? So they both ultimately have the same end goal. It's just a matter of one's going to spike way harder on the emotional scale than the other one is.
Yeah. One's going to make a lot of people real angry. a lot of boomers getting angry.
Right.
But yeah. Like I said, I applaud him for standing up for what he believes is right. I think he's doing good work. I just, again, not my cup of tea. Right. Not a fan of his music, but Magic though. Yeah, there's a whole.
Also, I think the thing about first card you showed me actually is Ugin instead of.
It got Ugin and Nicol Bolas on the bottom.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Crux of Fate. So this, I guess the thing I wanted to bring up here is, at what point is it plagiarism to take someone's work? At what point is, what is plagiarism? Is one of the things I wanted to bring up. So. This kid, Kit LaPina, who goes by Scary Pet online, was told that the Magic card Crux of Fate strongly resembles one of their deviant fan art uploads from 2016. And he went on to post on Twitter and engage his fans, I guess. And then basically what ends up happening is then the final thing with all of this is that the artist. What is his name? Jason Felix. Jason Felix is the artist that stole it. He he said, I've waited to make a public response because I wanted to reach out to the affected artist, Kit LaPina, Raymond Swanland, and Wizards of the Coast first. I was overworked, but that's no excuse. I messed up, and I'm trying to make amends. So he did come out and admit that he did steal this kid's artwork, that he straight up plagiarized it, posted online, and he profited from it as a freelance artist with Wizards of the Coast. Right. And I guess that's where the plagiarism comes in. But at the same time, Kit LaPina, Scary Pet, freely posted their artwork on DeviantArt. And when I was looking through the copyright stuff for DeviantArt, there's no protection there. You only get like copyright claims and stuff like that whenever you actually go to copyright it. Does that make sense? Like you go to a lawyer and you say, I want this copyrighted, you put your watermark on it and do all that stuff, which as a kid posting on or I don't know how old this person is, as a person posting on DeviantArt, is it plagiarism to take their artwork? And I guess that's the question I'm posting to you. Like, what do you think on this subject? What's your opinion on it?
I think if you're putting a product out there and you're trying to make a living off of it or anything like that, then you do need to protect yourself with legalities and other things like that.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. You're putting time, effort, money, whether you're actually putting a monetary value or you're just not making money by doing it, you're still putting that resource into it. And when you put yourself up online, a lot of people have the intention of, if my art gets famous enough, I'll be famous, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, you probably shouldn't go around Skyping or scalping pictures off the internet for your own gain and other such things. I think T-shirts company do it a lot. So a lot of people were saying, hey, just put like the Disney logo in the bottom if you're not trying to monetize, because Disney's lawyers will come after them if they do it. And stuff like that.
Yeah. So
because small time people have a really hard time with copyright claims and plagiarism and stuff like that, because big companies will come in, they swoop in with the monetary resources of lawyers and other things to take that and then be like, oh, well, you posted it on DeviantArt, it's a free forum, we got it off of that, so you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And I think he's actually since watermarked it. I'm looking at it now. He's actually got like a scarypet.deviantart.com like watermark across the thing.
Yep.
So this is gonna lose me some fans here, but if I go on DeviantArt and I take your artwork and then change it a little bit, but it still kind of resembles, like in this case, Jason Felix took the Nicobolus artwork, like angled it differently, but he kept like the fucked up like 5-finger thing,
right.
And he added Ugin, he added a bunch of other artwork to it and did all that stuff. Like, at what point is your art no longer your art? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Ship of Theseus. Going back to this, right? At what point is the Ship of Theseus no longer the Ship of Theseus in something new?
Right.
So like if I take, and I'm not an artist by any means, but if you drew me a picture right now and then I took it and manipulated it in some way, at what point is it no longer your art? And in this case, I think Jason Felix is saying he's going to pay royalties to Scary Pet. He's going to do all that stuff.
Right.
So they're making amends.
Good
But
on him.
It just made me think, like, at what point is your art no longer your art?
Right.
At what point is, if I take Montero by Lil Nas X and I, speed it up or change it or add my voice to it, like I'm singing it, like at what point can, Lil Nas X not come after me for that?
Right. And I think it's 30%. Like, I think the legality of it is about 30%. As long as something's about 30% different, then it's not considered plagiarism at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only reason why that number sticks in my head is me and my family used to sell birdhouses with old men's faces on them.
Yeah.
And a different company came in, changed it 30%, and there was nothing legally that we could do to prevent them from doing it.
Interesting. Because I know fucking YouTube, man. YouTube goes after people like crazy for like copyright claims with like music. Like they shut your shit down.
Well, and YouTube's real crazy because some person just flags it, and regardless of whether it's in the video or not, they just immediately take it down, and then you have to fight to put it back up.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have to do is, if you're doing like a review on another website or something, is that person has to approve that it's under like free use laws and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that was where Jason Felix messed up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
He did not get permission from Scary Pet to use the art, and if he had gone up to this Kit Lapina and was like, hey, can I use your art for magic? And he was like, yeah, sure. Then there's nothing that Kit could do anymore, as long as it's in writing and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
And that was where he fucked up. He didn't get permission from the artist.
Right. Which, honestly, there's a lot of artists
he
out there, and Magic the Gathering is such a massive thing that I do feel like if you went up to anybody and you're like, hey, can I use your art? A lot of people are just going to say yes without kind of like monetary compensation.
Yeah, because I mean, it's free advertisement.
It's free advertisement. It's a massive chance for them. Like, your art's going to potentially go on a card that's going to be around for 30 years that people are using in whatever way,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think legality-wise, I believe the number is about 30%. If something's about 30% different, then it's no longer plagiarism. A lot of that stuff you have to think about is like fan art and things like that. Is a lot of the people on DeviantArt that do sell that kind of thing will go in and they'll take a favorite show, they'll take a favorite XYZ, and they still sell it. But that's still like the likeness of What's a good show? Well, we talked about Naruto last week. So they take the likeness of Naruto and then they add a cool different background and all this kind of stuff. But because it's more than 30% different, they can legally go out and put it on T-shirts, sell it.
That's actually something that Etsy, that famous website, is dealing with right now, because people were making like fan art and like posters or like bracelets, whatever, with likenesses of major characters, and they are getting a shit ton of backlash,
right?
Because I guess that magic number didn't get hit, or that magic amount of differences didn't get hit, and so they were having to like take off a bunch of creators from there because they were plagiarizing other work, which I guess is why I know it's hard, and the way my lovely wife explains it, and she's gonna get mad at me, but she explains it because she's an artist as well. She does a lot of my like logos, our logos, things like that, and she feels that fan art is a way to express yourself and express your love for a character, and kind of similar to like cosplay. Like whenever you cosplay a character and you do it very, very well, you are doing it because you love that character and you want to show your love for it. And I guess what I'm getting at with that is, if you're taking someone else's work, if you're taking Naruto, especially, and you're just like copy and pasting it for your like DeviantArt to like profit off of it, I could see how that would be, plagiarism. I can see how that's bad.
Well, there's a distinct difference between.
I guess it's hard for me to understand how artists work. How hard is it to create an original character? You know what I mean?
Right.
And going beyond just like your what's the word I'm looking for? How much you appreciate that character.
Right.
Like, how hard is it to come up with your own original character? Like, Scary Pet. He wanted to show that he really liked Nicol Bolas, and he drew this thing of Nicol Bolas. And then, because of that, because he drew it so well, because he did it so well, Jason Felix, a freelance artist for Wizards of the Coast, took that and put it on the card.
Right.
So, like, and he wasn't even mad about it. Like, Scary Pet wasn't mad about it, but how could you get mad about that? I think the internet was just kind of in an uproar about this.
Right. They take it, they kind of run with it. And again, there's a distinct difference between saying, hey, I'm passionate about this. This is a form of expression versus monetization. The moment you cross the threshold of monetization, it is a job. It's no longer passion. Right. And that's kind of the thing is, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with whenever they're doing something creative that they enjoy doing is being able to A, monetize it, and then B, separate joy from work, right? Being able to take that skill and going, oh man, I really enjoy this character. I created this entire like backdrop for this character, and give me money for it. That's the line, right? You can create those characters in my mind all day, every day. Everything you want to do for that kind of stuff, you can do it. The only time that there should be an issue with it is whenever you're trying to make money off of somebody else's idea, pretty much, right? And that's kind of the thing, right? Is they didn't have to create an original character with an original backstory with this massive world behind it and everything like that, right? Like Finrath.com. You had to throw that in there. Exactly. This massive world with it. They took somebody else's world and then they slapped something they enjoy on it, and then they made money off of that. So they took they did 5% of the effort off of like someone's season. They're like, oh, I know this because of XYZ. They didn't have to brand themselves. They didn't have to create anything.
Well, like also goes originally. So I'm a writer. I love to write. That's what I do. I created Finrath.com because I enjoy writing and I wanted to create my own homebrew world for the games D&D that we play, and my wife reads a lot of like fan fiction. So one of my favorite TV shows of all time, I've watched them for fucking 15 years of my life, is Supernatural. And there's a lot of fan fiction out there that is like Sam and Dean, the two brothers on the show, getting very incestuous and stuff together because for whatever reason people seem to dig that kind of thing. And in my mind, you were taking something that I love, Supernatural, and you're fucking ruining it with fan fiction. And I guess that's why I have such a negative reaction to like fan-made artwork of stuff. And that's not saying that people aren't like if you're showing appreciation for something you love and you're doing things like that, cool, fine. But I guess at what point is it not appreciation and it's just you being really weird on the internet?
Right.
Like, at what point is it you no longer showing appreciation or trying to write a new story for Sam and Dean versus like you're just making them have sex for no reason? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is something that those characters would never do in general because they're brothers, and like I don't understand it.
Well, what I'm gonna say is real controversial and people don't enjoy it. Is that if you really enjoy a show, if you really love a show, accept it for what it is.
Game of Thrones.
Season
8 Game of Thrones. People are like so livid about that, and we're boycotting HBO and the writers of the show to get it changed when you should have just been like, oh, huh.
Right.
Like, go fuck yourself. Stop. Like, just deal with it and like just accept it for what it is. Like, cool. It may not have been the best ending or the ending you wanted, but it was still the ending of the show.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Well, Star Wars episodes 7, 8, 9. I am an avid Star Wars fan, and it hurts to watch them, but now they're part of the universe. And even though I want things to be different, I wish they had gone different avenues with it. I'm not out there trying to change it, right?
Yeah.
Not yet. Not till I got $1 billion and I could buy it from Disney or something.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
like that kind
exactly.
of thing.
When we get super famous off this podcast.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So,
and that's the thing is, it's okay to be passionate. It's okay to want things to be a little bit different, but ultimately, if you really are that passionate about something, let it exist how it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the overarching theme of what we're talking about, right? Is if you're a fan of Lil Nas, then you need to be a fan of him. Except that he's going to do things that are crazy. If you do not enjoy those things, you don't have to be a fan.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to it.
If and that's
turn your ears off.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's just one of those things where now you understand that being a fan of his means that there will be controversy following him, right?
Yeah.
Eminem. There's been controversy with Eminem since the 90s.
Yeah,
you know,
that was the original rapper with all the controversy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but you need to understand that. Okay, I don't know why you're getting stressed about some millionaire off in like California's life. You know, you're not going to impact. And but that's the thing is like you have to understand that like if you are a fan of that kind of stuff, then it might come up at the family table and that might stress you out. But you need to accept that as a thing. Accept it for what it is.
Have a session 0 with your fam during Thanksgiving. That's what you should do.
Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about. This is what we're not going to talk about.
Yeah, to sum up this whole topic, and again, I don't want to upset anyone, but Lil Nas, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good things. You're bringing light to a subject that you need to. You're doing it in a very controversial way, and we know that we see you. But and then Jason Felix is an asshole. He did still artwork. And he's trying to justify it by saying that he was overworked. But at the same time, he is paying royalties and making amends for that kind of thing that he did all those years ago.
Well, and that's one.
And they're trying to get Kit LaPina's name on the card as well.
Okay.
As opposed to
for like reprints and things down the road and stuff.
Yeah. So as opposed to Jason Felix, so he's no longer taking credit for the artwork.
Right. And that's the one nice difference that I would say about Jason Felix is. Cancel culture likes to say, hey, this guy doesn't get to work anymore. I think that by him owning it and saying, hey, let's give him royalties and all that kind of thing.
Wizards like kanks that.
They
were like, yeah, you're not a freelance artist for us anymore.
And see, to me, I think there needs to be a line, right? Like that is inappropriate for him to do. It doesn't, it's not prevalent to their company and their ideals and stuff like that. But I don't know if that means that he needed to be outright canceled for it. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
especially if he is.
And it was from Strixhaven Sets Magical Archive feature. I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm sure you know more about it than I do.
No.
Apparently, that's like a new set that's coming out with all the new artwork. It's one of those. It's a fucking money grab from Wizards.
Oh, it's like the secret layer set or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here, Wizards. Quit doing that. Quit reprinting cards.
Right, and crossovers and everything else.
Yeah, it's at Godzilla. Everybody's gonna love Godzilla.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. Well, let's hop off that topic and bring it back to what we love and the thing that we talk about all the time: the Dungeons and the Dragons.
The Durgans and the Durgans.
The Durgans and the Durgans. All right. Yeah. I guess we're gonna start commenting on comments a little bit early because I have quite the topic for you, my friend.
Oh, here we go.
Let me get this. What do you want? Synthwave, hip hop, EDM, lo-fi.
I think we always do commenting comments with a little bit of synthwave. So
boom. Here we go. There it is. All right. So my first comment, article, I don't know, whatever. First discussion topic. Is there an ideal party size of 6? And the guy goes on to talk about any of you tried making a dream team D&D party of 6 people? Picking classes and races for them of what you imagine a well-rounded party is. Try to have no more than one human variant in it to mix things up, and if you have one, list their feat. So basically, like min-maxing or whatever, variant human allows you to get like an extra feat, whatever. We don't care about that. But I wanted to broach the topic with you. Mm-hmm. What is your dream team for an ideal party in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition?
My dream team?
Yeah, this guy, just to give you an example, is he said Paladin Oath of Vengeance as a half-orc, Ranger Gloomstalker as a variant human with a sharpshooter feature, Rogue Swashbuckler, so pirate, Tabaxi, and then Sorcerer, he said Divine Soul, like DE, but it's Divine Soul, as a Satyr, which apparently is a new thing, Cleric Tempest Domain as a blue Dragonborn, and then Bard College of Swords as a half elf.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about a dream team because to me, I can work with anything. Right? Is my enjoyment
That's how I feel.
is right? As I've never been like, oh, it would be amazing to have an entire 6-man party of paladin rogue fighters that everyone gets +5 to all their saves while they're all around each other and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's interesting ideas out there. There's balances that I do think naturally kind of occur in the game. Like if you go in with 100% martial classes and stuff like that, there's going to be elements where you do not have a good time, right? And that's because as you come in, it turns out that casters have that balance in there of going, oh, banish, and then you take the strongest fighter off the board, you know? So
yeah.
I do think there's a balance that needs to be achieved, but no, I've never really considered a dream team, so to say, of everything that you would need in one. With a lot of the versatilities that 5th edition allows, I don't know if really, as long as you cover your bases, I don't know if you actually need like a set like, oh, every party needs a rogue. Okay, and then on top of a rogue, we need someone who's a tank. So, all right, you want to be a barbarian or a fighter, you know? So I don't know if that's really the structure that I try to put my guys into or anything like that. And this is something that you and I both implement is players before, at a session 0, so to say, as you're meeting everybody who's going to be playing in a campaign and stuff like that, you're allowed to talk about backstories, things like that, but you're not really allowed to talk about what your class is. Right? And that's to stop that. Like, if you show up and you have 6 players and 3 of them are clerics...
Well, it's to stop metagaming. Yeah. That's why I do it. I literally do it to stop metagaming, min-maxing players that are like, oh, well, you already have a ranger, a rogue, a fighter, so now you need a cleric because someone's got to heal, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna let you finish, but at the same time, a dream team is amazing because it allows you to have every single one of your bases covered, and it gives every single player something to do in the game, right? So the rogue being good at lockpicking and stealth and sneaking ahead, the ranger being good at all range attacks and talking to animals and shit, or a druid that you can kind of mix either one of those. Artificer for building all the magic weapons in your game. A wizard because they're the most versatile spellcaster, and then the cleric to heal, obviously, because they're supposed to be one of the better healers. That can also be swapped out for a paladin if you wanted like a more martial class and things like that. And then I think splashing in bard just because they fill any role with their jack of all trades that you don't have for anyone. So I have thought about this. That's interesting. I didn't know that you would. I thought you would have like tried to come up with like a good like dream team.
Well, see, and then to me, I think of like dream characters. What would be good characters to play that kind of fit into any niche kind of thing like that? Because the other side of the argument is D&D 5th edition is so versatile right now that you could take your ranger that you said is like nature based. He's talking to animals. He's doing all that range stuff.
Yeah.
You can replace that with like nature domain clerics, nature domain paladins, those kinds of things, and they still get talking to animals.
Prove me wrong, why don't you?
And and I do agree, bards are amazing. Bards should be in every campaign.
Yeah, you should have at least one. Bard
at least one bard,
or a whole fucking squad of bards. Just fuck everybody
up. At least 3 levels in bard. But like counter argument, like you don't always need a fighter, right? Something that we've talked about.
Yeah, fighter's not even in my list.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a crazy martial class. You can do a blade song wizard, right?
A blizzard. Oh my god, yeah, because that's what you're gonna play on my wife's one shot.
Yep.
And they're dumb, except for the fact that you are 10th level and you rolled your health last night and you only got 45 hit points at 10th level. That is, for those of you that don't play D&D that are listening to this right now, that is fucking so low.
Real low.
That is like 2 attacks from a major fighter of the same level. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like if you were to min-max it and play it that way, you would have like a 25 AC if you had rolled your stats, higher and all that stuff. But you and I, the brothers that we are, we rolled real average for this one shot.
Exactly. And it goes back to me, there's always going to be elements that fit together. So I like thinking about like mid-max characters, what would be amazing, what can you do, that kind of stuff. But like to me, a dream team doesn't consist of specific races and classes. It would actually be more of the people at the table that are sitting at the table, right? A dream team to me would be the best players that I've played with who are actually cohesive. They actually understand the game elements and the role-playing aspect. Because to me, you can.
I see what you're saying.
The other side of that is it's like that would be like me if I showed up and I did a one shot for your and I group that we play in together. Well, you DM, I play. that would be like me showing up and be like, we're going to do a one shot. And you're like, oh, I got all these cool ideas. It's like, no, shut up. You're a paladin. And then it's like, oh, well, but I wanted to, you know, so hey, you're probably not usually going to get to implement it, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because most people want to have their own unique thing. And then even if you do get to implement it.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're getting at there. No, I don't mean for like you to give to your players or anything like that. I mean like what would be a good balanced team of people, like what they would want to play. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And because I guess there are those like classic parties that always have like a wizard. They always have like a cleric. They have stuff like that. I mean, I've went entire campaigns without a cleric.
Right.
Before, which is like crazy, and it makes the game a little bit more challenging because you don't just have that like boop, you're healed. You know?
Well, Paladin's the best cleric there is with their lay on hands ability.
Oh fucking Paladin 5e Paladin's broken. That's topic for another time. Let's not even. No, I'm not even getting into that. That's gonna make me angry. Fucking Paladins.
I guess, and then the other side of the element is am I trying to mid max the group, or am I trying to get the most role play out of it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like your most mid max group would be either a zealot barbarian or a totem warrior wolf or totem warrior bear barbarian.
Yeah.
Has all except for psychic damage.
Psychic
damage. And then you have, you know, like a dragon.
Like those guys that are protesting Lil Nas right now.
I know, right?
And psychic damage.
Yeah, man, tell you that, man. And then you have your and then you probably have your like paladin because he just gives everybody to everything, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what someone... So, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Thank you, my dear friend. One of the first comments and one of the top comments on that post from the Reddit was a party of all 6 paladins with maxed out charisma.
Right.
So everyone gets a plus 30
to their saving
throws.
Not gonna lie, that was the first thought I had when you're like, just pick 6 things to fuck around with.
And fuck like, you.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate paladins so much, but I also love them.
You could have 8s and everything else, and nothing would matter because you're not getting hurt ever.
Yeah,
and you're
because you fucking succeed every single saving throw you do. It's really
all of you
stupid.
have 20 ACs. Like yeah.
Because plate mail and a shield just at a minimum, let alone if they were magical. Holy fuck.
No, exactly. But yeah, I guess barbarian, way of the bear, any paladin really. Honestly, like that's probably gonna be on the list. We'll throw in bard there, fighter classed into range because they actually do it better than a ranger does as far as
damage
as a bow and arrow,
like
that kind of thing.
Yeah. You're picking a lot of martial races. I don't think I picked any. Well, paladin, I guess. I said I could take that one.
Right. And then for me, it would probably be again wizard. Wizards are really good. Probably not a blade wizard in that mix.
Yeah,
in particular.
Just a utility wizard.
Yeah, utility wizard. And then really the 6th is kind of a fill. Like you could really do something fun. You've already got like 2.5 casters.
Just say Artificer.
Yeah, probably like Artificer. Yeah.
Make the magic items for the guys.
Yeah, you know, bump them all up because that's what you need. You know.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So my next thing was from D&D Beyond.
Okay.
It's not really. I don't really care if we talk about this one. It was. From one of the recent articles talking about how to play vampires, like night stalkers or whatever,
like the deadly creatures of the night that they are.
Yeah. And so he's the guy's. It's a comment and then a reply, and this guy says, "Hey guys, not to be a downer on the situation, I like 90% of the article, but unfortunately got spoiled for an element of Rime of the Frost Maiden. I'm usually the DM, but finally got to play," and then he put in like quotes or whatever. "Hence my reading this obviously directed towards DMs. Maybe in the future make a spoiler warning at the top of the article preceding it." Then the comment is, the upside and downside of D&D Beyond is that basic information is available to everyone. As a relevant example, go on D&D Beyond without logging onto it. Use a different browser or hidden mode, like he had to explain how to do that.
Right.
And do a search for vampires in the Monster Deck. You'll see entries for Icewind Dale, even though as a non-user you obviously aren't added any content. The same would apply if you ever did a search for gnolls. And it says, also, Icewind Dale has been out for over a year. At some point, you've got to just roll with it when people talk about things you haven't seen or read yet. Darth Vader is Luke's father. Bruce Willis has been dead the entire movie. It's not called The Red Wedding because the color of the bridesmaids' dresses, at least not initially.
Solid plays. Solid plays.
I fucking love that comment.
No, and
because he goes into it like he's trying to actually explain stuff like, "Hey man, this is why this is."
And then first, I'm gonna need you to download Firefox. Right? And then,
and then he's like, "Fucking spoiled." Also, exactly. The Red Wedding. Everyone gets murdered if you haven't watched fucking season 3 of Game of Thrones,
which came out approximately 7 or 8 years ago. You know, one of those things.
Oh man, it just cracked me up so hard. I had to share that with you.
No, that's real solid. And then
because people just bitching about, I hate when people bitch about spoiler warnings.
Right.
I get if something's ongoing and you're like, hey man, the new Star Wars, like episode 8, have you seen it yet? Because you're a fan, right? And I wouldn't go and be like, oh yeah, this is the ending of it, or like Wanda, like. You were saving that fucking Sparky meme from WandaVision for fucking weeks because I hadn't watched it.
Yeah.
I get it, but at some point you got to just be like, hey, fuck it, man. You need to see this. And
yeah. You'll get it. You'll get it eventually.
Yeah. You'll understand
why. The internet exists.
The internet exists. So basically, I guess what I want to say on this one is stop bitching about spoiler alerts. Just go and watch the shit if you actually care about it and stop ruining everyone else's fun with their memes.
Right.
But what did you have for commenting on comments today?
And actually, since...
I'm just a little angry boy today.
Yeah, for this first one, there was an article... that was written that was also talking about what was it just called? And this was from November. Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden is the name of it on dndbeyond.com. And this one was creating terror without being a jerk. Right, and it had some pretty good things. It's like creating horror through voice, so you're using your voice as you go darkly into the dungeon and stuff like that, and atmosphere, using music, even like temperature of your room. I feel like that would be a little much if you actually dialed it down to 64 and like froze out your players.
I've heard about people doing that with the Call of Cthulhu tabletop game.
Isolation is interesting. Lighting, not lightning. That was a good one. The only issue that I had with the article is it didn't really clarify how you're being a jerk. These are all just ways to create tension in a game to me. Right? Like, I'm not really sure where they were going without being a jerk portion when they just laid out how at a tabletop.
I guess, like, if you're, I don't know, this might be a little extreme, but if I, like, went up to you and I'm like, all right, Whistler's getting tortured by some dickbag humans, and then I just slap you across the fucking face.
Right.
That's a way to create tension. It's a way to make you feel pain for your character, but at the same time, it's me just being a dick.
It's more of, it's not laid out in the article, even that's the title. Right?
Which a lot of people have issues with D&D Beyond's articles for that reason.
Right.
They got a new James Hayek.
Right.
He's a writer, and a lot of people bitch at him about how he doesn't like actually explain stuff. He just, it's almost like he adds a title to grab your attention, and then he just talks about like an article, but he doesn't actually explain what he's trying to say in the title. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like they taught us in fucking 10th grade English. Like
you got to bring it all back together.
You got to loop it all back together.
He does talk about a session 0, and this is where I could see not being a jerk, where they talk about like longing for death, madness, brainwashing, freezing to death, that kind of thing. What might trigger people or something like that. Some of those feel a little bit extreme, so you should probably know your friends that are playing at the table if you know that they have someone who is frozen to death. It seems like really niche. And in the comments, the biggest issue that I had is the only thing that anybody talked about was music and how they use music, and music is great, which it is, and it's a great element to add into your games if you're not using it already, of having battle music, tension music,
get music. Like go on Spotify and search for like D&D music, and you can get a shit ton of it. Right now, obviously you can't do that if you're on like Twitch or you're like streaming it to people or recording it or doing any of that stuff, because a lot of it is copyrighted and going all the way back to the beginning, like we were learned in 10th grade English. You have to look out for copyright stuff, especially with YouTube and Twitch lately, because that's what they've been cracking down on. So if you get permission to use it, like right now we have permission from Harris Heller. He made Stream Beats, which is the entire thing that we use for all of this and what I use on my Twitch and YouTube channel. Then you're fine. You're covered. But I don't record my sessions or anything, at least not right now. And so I use music all the time, but I also use, like you're saying, I use lighting. I have, I went and bought like some $10 fucking light bulbs, which is really expensive for a light bulb, but I have a little remote where I can change it to like red or blue or green.
Well, and you've used isolation in a previous campaign. You had a character who needed to make a choice with their god, and everybody else went outside the room where they couldn't hear what was going on.
Yeah, I was like, fuck out, it's me and him.
That creates tension, because you're like, oh, now I have the spotlight on this player, and that person's like, oh man, what's going to happen, And that was the thing, is it feels like people just latched onto like, oh, music's a good idea, music's a good idea. It talked about getting people invested in the characters, other elements of how to create tension and other things like that, and that was the only major issue.
I like the idea of using temperature though. That one seems. Smells. Smell was a big thing too. So there is a company, and I can't think of them right now, but I might add it into the description. They make candles that smell like certain things. Like you can make a candle that smells like a dirty bar. Then you light it, and then your room will smell like that.
Yeah, and then you could get you could get that like city feel and stuff like that.
Or like there's one that smelled like a little musty for like a dungeon. And it evokes that response. That's why when you go to like a mall, it always smells like cookies. And it's not just because they have like a cookie store in like every mall in America. It's because that is supposed to make you want to like buy stuff. It makes you hungry. It makes you greedy.
And then the comment that I'll talk about is from CatH2000. And she, her, him, whoever it is, says, I've read through the book and I really like the story. Most of my players don't like horror, and I don't either. I love this. I love the plot. Planning this is just a straight fantasy. It should be pretty easy to change the atmosphere with a different vocabulary, cutting down on the mutations, dropping the chestbuster option, and the frostbite extra descriptions. Mostly how I describe it will turn into a northern cold fantasy that will work for my group.
So, sorry to interrupt your comment, but I guess I've never read Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. Is that like a... are they doing like the chestbusters, like aliens?
Yeah, it's in there that it says that that's something that happens.
Holy
it's part of the horror element, right? And the entire book is supposed to be about horror and eerie encounters in the snowy wastes, right? And the only thing that I was going to bring up about this comment is... if an entire module is based off of horror, and then you're like, I don't like horror, so I'm not doing it. It goes back to the whole, once you change something, is it anymore? Because in reality, something that you're not registering is the reason you're enjoying that is because of the horror aspect, and you're just not cognitively thinking about that portion of it.
If you take all the horror out of Curse of Strahd, you're not playing Curse of Strahd anymore.
Right, because it has vampires, werewolves, and again,
Barovia,
and it's just like, oh, well, I just want to play it as high fantasy, and it goes back to this.
So play a high fantasy campaign.
Exactly, play in the cold, play a high fantasy campaign. You don't need to use all this. It's literally built to be a horror story that you play through, and you want to take out the horror story.
Yeah.
Right. Element.
So there's a guy that I was reading on Reddit, and I almost used this for my comment, but I feel like it's going to evoke such an angry response from me. Finwrath is a high magic campaign. You know this, now the people know this, right? I love magic items. I like giving out magic items. I like when people take magic items that are cursed and they either like use them for evil or they use them for good and get them like destroyed. It's amazing. I love that aspect of high fantasy. I love magic. It's awesome. It'd be badass if we can cast magic in real life. There are so many people out there that play Dungeons and Dragons and they take out the magic from it.
Right.
Well, then you're just playing Game of Thrones, and that's sad. Like, I hate that. I think it's such a stupid idea to me, and maybe that's just like me being controversial over here and trying to evoke a response like Lil Nas, but like. That's stupid. You're stupid. Like, why would you take high fantasy and then take out every single bit of magic? Like, not allowing wizards. I mean, not allowing sorcerers. Not allowing people to play characters they want to play. Not allowing elves because they're a magical race. Like, what are you even trying to do then? You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason you play Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't like magic, play Call of Cthulhu or whatever. That just has Cthulhu and you get scared.
I just want to play a group of traveling swordsmen. And it's like, well, why are you playing D&D? Go find a different system that might work a little bit better.
That facilitates that. But what I was getting at is the guy literally was changing every single aspect of Dungeons and Dragons and trying to make like a homebrew world and doing all this stuff as a brand new DM, at least what he said. And I was like, why? Like, why would you take Rime of the Frost Maiden and take all that shit out and then still try to play it? Why not just go and get a different, experience?
In my opinion, that person is going to play it thinking, oh, it's a great story, all this kind of stuff. And they're not going to get the impact they want. They're not going to get the feel they want. They're not going to get.
They're going to put in all this time and effort to change
remove all this
to
stuff.
remove all that stuff, and then it's just going to be there. Like, what's even the appeal? What's the draw? What is the drive to your heroes?
The fun they're going to have is this classic fun that you have in D&D, where you're a group of friends BSing around a table. You're never going to be able to fully remove that portion of it. But
true.
If you latch onto a specific story, it's for reasons, right? Play through those reasons. Sure, it's one module. It's probably, if you got together once a week, it's probably a month, maybe 2 months of playing.
Yeah, it's one module out of the like 47 books that are on D&D Beyond.
Exactly, you know. And so, sure, you guys may not like horror or something like that, but you may also have people who are playing at the table that don't realize they like that stuff. Right?
Well, I know you don't like horror.
No.
Like, I keep trying to get you to do the playable trailer that's been out for years, and you just refuse to do it with me. Because I think it'd be fun.
And I shy away from that stuff from media and stuff like that because I understand that I don't like it. Also, again, if you went, I'm doing a strictly horror campaign, we're going to have all these themes about it. If I'm like, I'm not comfortable with playing that, you can be like, all right, well, then you can sit this one out and play the next one.
All right, then get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, you know?
Which is the opposite of what you should do. Don't do that.
Well, and then it also goes back to maybe you should, in session 0, talk to people about it, see what they want to play and stuff like that. And honestly, if everybody else was down to do a horror-based campaign, I'm not going to be the fuddy-duddy and be like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Because I can separate D&D a lot easier from reality from those other themes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and some people can't.
Right, and, like, if you're in a movie theater and you're watching some of that stuff, a lot of the times you can't just leave. But, like, if you're tense at a table, you can get up and stretch your legs, move around and stuff, kind of relieve that tension personally.
Take a break.
Yeah,
that kind
of thing.
We have breaks like that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So,
because right now I have the Ambrose, Rossi boy, who still has not listened to our first 2 podcasts. He is not a worshiper; he's a warlock of what he thinks is a blood god, the immortal one, which is one of the first primordials in Fenrath and stuff that I'm working on, right? And he has there's a lot of imagery in that would evoke horror response. It's all about blood and just death and trying to get him to kill people that he shouldn't, like innocent people and stuff. So,
right.
Oh man!
For the sake of gore and other such things.
Yeah.
And then my other commenting on comment was something that we've talked about a number of times, and it involves the wish spell.
Oh.
Yes, the wish spell. We talked about this briefly in the Tarask episode where we talked about where someone was like, thanks, Ring of 3 Wishes.
Yeah.
And just to kind of break it down for you, it is a 9th level spell, so it's the highest in the game. Casting time 1 action, range self. Wish is the mightiest spell a mortal creature can cast. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter the very foundation of reality in accord with your desires. Right? And then it kind of explains how you can do that.
Yeah.
You can cast it at any spell, even if you don't know it, 8th or lower, and then it goes off. And then it kind of gives you some examples of things that you could do with it, like creating an object that's 25,000 gold in value.
It basically allows you
stuff
to,
like that, right?
So the default use of Wish is to cast an 8th level or lower spell for free without material components. The other side of Wish is wishing for something to happen. And I think a lot of people get tied up on the examples that they give you in the spell. Those are not the only things you could do with Wish. You can wish that you can literally wish to be a god, and that technically can happen if your DM allows it. It's very DM dependent.
Exactly. And that's one of the things is it states state your wish to the GM as precisely as possible. The GM has great latitude in ruling what occurs in such instances. The greater the wish, the greater the likelihood that something goes wrong, right? The stress of casting this has produced any effect on duplicating a spell other than duplicating a spell weakens you, right? After enduring such stress, you until you finish a long rest, you take 1d necrotic per level of the spell. Your strength drops to 3, and then for a number of days and other things like that. And again, the reason why this one's controversial is because the world of D&D loves to do this. Oh, this is amazing, and then other people are like, oh, it's all right, it's whatever. It's a very powerful element, right? One of the best ones, right, is number 1. I wish for there to be no negative consequences for me or my allies upon casting Wish. 2. I wish for there to be no rules against wishing for more wishes or for magical items. 3. I wish for infinite wishes. This doesn't give you 3 wishes. Also,
well, first of all, I like how you leaned in for that one. And it's one of those things where people do not like the GM telling them no, and I think that's what this guy is getting at.
Right.
They probably have a DM that allows them to just rule of cool everything, where like, oh, I cast Wish, and then nothing negative happens.
Right.
Even though there is the subset in there that says if you use Wish for anything other than casting an 8th level or lower spell, you have to make a save, and if you fail that save, you no longer can cast the Wish spell.
Right, exactly.
It's an intense thing.
Yeah, there's an entire percentage that you can't do it anymore. So on your first one, and then that's the other thing with great latitude, right, is this person thinks they're being clever. They think they've worded it in such a way that they can get around it, right?
Smart, yeah.
I wish for there to be no negative consequences for me or my allies, right? Well, A, who do you really consider an ally? And then B,
true.
What if you or none of your allies existed anymore? There's no negatives because you can't feel anything.
Yeah, so now the fucking GM just fucked you over.
Also, what if you're allies with an entire nation and they just Thanos'd out of existence, right?
Oh my god, yeah. Because by the time you would be able to cast Wish, you would be at that level.
Right.
Or you're supposed to be at that level of gameplay to where you're doing like god level stuff.
And again, just kind of breaking into it. It's just one of those things where people think they can get around it, right? But in the thing, it says the DM has great latitude, which means the DM doesn't even necessarily have to roll to see if it's successful or not. If you're like, I wish for infinite wishes, because that's not necessarily against the text of the rule, the DM can go, no.
it fails.
Yeah, exactly. It fails your strength 3 for the next 8 days, and
get good, fam.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. And then someone was like, then what's the point of this game? Might just use this to win and go home. What you wrote is idiotic. And it's like, no, it's a 9th level thing. You can't access it till like super late level. And again,
17th level.
Yeah, and then 17th level, and then you and then again, you as the DM, if someone's like, oh, I just wish the big bad guy goes away, that you could say, all right, roll percentile. You could do all these things. If it succeeds,
he goes away from the area where he is and appears in front of you,
right, or something like
shit
that.
like that happens all the time. Yeah. That's the whole point of Wish.
I wish the big baddie would die. Well, then maybe if you're writing a story around it, maybe you don't necessarily need to be invested in your big bad guy so much that if he dies from a 9th level spell, that it's the end of the world, right?
I would just turn him into a lich at that point, but maybe it's just me.
Yeah, you could have other at that point you could shift the entire campaign where now there's a cult that's bringing him back to life or something, right?
Yeah.
You could. There's so many elements that you don't necessarily just have to say no, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if someone thinks that they're being clever with it, you can easily just be like, all right, you don't know if it worked or not because you don't see the guy. Right? Or it's oh, I don't wish he was on our plane of existence anymore. All right, cool. You just send him to hell. He raised an entire army of like a hell legion. And he brings it back. Yeah, and like all this. So you have these explorations, right? Just because someone wishes for it to be done doesn't mean it's done.
Yeah,
right?
I guess I just wish people would stop being tool bags.
Yeah. And then my favorite comment on all of this, because it cracks me up, is I wish to be a dragon with all my wizard skills. Because that would actually kind of be hilarious to me if you're just like Avada.
Well, the green dragons have the ability to cast spells,
right?
Because they're intelligent.
Well,
what do you mean with all your wizard abilities?
I think at that point you're a 20th level wizard, so they're thinking like a 20th level wizard dragon versus so they don't have to work towards like the ancient dragon hood and all that kind of stuff.
Got it,
And they're just flying around casting fireball everywhere, confusing people and whatnot.
I also just realized, as a complete side note here, that we never even talked about Bree's article.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That was one of the things we were going to talk about at the beginning of this. We just got off like a long train of thought here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all right, though. Well, we could, like... It is about art, and we did cover some of these topics from when I'm, like, scrolling through here. It is the whole, like... the whole article is about how the art world's unfair, right? And in my opinion, I think it's always been this way. It's they talk about how it's like extremely elitist, extremely elitist. They talk about how museums are actually part of the problem, which is something you mentioned.
Right.
And this is something I thought you would find funny. So the article is very poorly written. I'm not gonna lie. But it says basically this. The Whitney Museum of American Art's board co-chair Warren Kanders, wow, a lot of title there, who owns a company that makes weapons that have been used on protesters and asylum seekers. So this guy is a co-chair of an art board of a museum, and he uses money from selling people's artwork to literally like shoot tear gas at people. I don't know why I find that. That's bad, right? That's bad. Let's approach that.
Daredevil Kingpin.
Yeah, that's very bad.
That's very bad.
But at the same time, it's just this dude's a fucking savage. Museum, like when you curate art and stuff like that, I don't know if you know this. If I sell you artwork and then you resell it, I don't get royalties for that resell.
Right.
So if I sell you my art for $5,000 and you go and resell it for $5 million, you just made $5 million off me. Like, and that is a major problem in the art world, which is what this entire article is about. Yeah, so not only does that guy take artwork from people and then resell it to other like the highest bidder, but he also uses that money to fund like anti-protest stuff.
Right.
Which is just like,
see, he's found the yin yang of work and like passionate balance that everyone says that they need to find.
Oh my god, man!
Definitely needs to think about his priorities. But yeah, appropriating art and other such things like that is kind of crazy. This
next thing is...
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not just tear gas money that has been funding museum operations. Funds from the Sackler family, which is another group that they talk about in this, which drew inconceivable wealth from the opioid crisis, has long supported museums nationwide. Though protests and lawsuits are now beginning to convince museum directors to turn away Sackler money and even relabel galleries that have carried their names.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Counter argument, right? Because it might as well be controversial.
Yeah.
Great Britain was the opioid crisis for a lot of countries for a lot of years, and they funded a lot of museums.
They fund a lot of shit overseas in general, and that's something that they talk about too, is like, so if you were an artist and you were trying to get famous off of your artwork and you're trying to like be the next, you know, Van Gogh or the next Picasso, right? Like, apparently it is a rough road.
Right. Well, most of them died poor, and their stuff didn't actually come to fruition until after their deaths and other such things like that, right? It is also, like you said, elitist, right? You can have one guy, he just puts a dot on a canvas and they're like, oh, this is amazing. And then you could have anyone else do that and they're like, oh, it's not the same. And
it's about the emotional response that you evoke.
Yeah, you're not as tortured as he is. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but that guy's actually like a homeless individual who's like struggling and he has 3 fingers. So who actually has lived a tortured life.
Exactly. As opposed to, and again, it goes into this article, it's very family oriented. So you have to have a family member in the like art world or art community in order to progress.
Right.
And that's a big thing too. So it's like, oh, I'm so tortured. My family made millions off the art community. Yes. Meanwhile, you have someone that's actually struggling, that is putting passion into their work, not getting any money.
Right. My father only got me a BMW instead of a Bugatti for my 16th birthday. Yeah.
What is it that they do for fucking Britney Spears, South Park? She didn't get a G6 plane. She only got a G5. It only has the gold inlay on 2 of the 5 seats.
Yeah. You know, I think there is definitely an elitism there. You know, hardcore is. It's all about like what school you go to and all this kind of stuff.
They go into that too. I'm glad you brought that up. So schools as well for art. Where is it? Art schools are part of the problem. Basically, you go to art school and you have someone that's never actually made. So how can you justify saying your art is trash, you're stupid, meanwhile you are also stupid and make the same art that they do, right? How can you justify telling someone that is passionate about something, that they are putting emotion into their work, that is not good enough? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I can say that about fan fiction because you're just recreating something, right? Like if you take Sam and Dean and you make them like fucking gay on screen or whatever, like in your writing when they're brothers, and make that incestuous relationship, that's trash. It's cruddy fan fiction, right? But if I go and I see someone's artwork and I'm like, no, this will never be great, as an art teacher, like, that's a shitty thing to do. Like,
well, you should always appreciate the effort that people put in, right? So, I've got a guy who plays in my campaigns, and he does put a lot of effort towards actually acting the way his character should, and other things like that, right?
Yeah.
Even if people at the table don't appreciate the decisions he makes, even if the decisions he makes are make hardship for me to have to role play something or to come up with a completely new sideline quest, he still puts that effort in and that creativity into doing that, right? Yeah. So even if it's annoying as hell, I will not say, oh, you're stupid for doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's...
Unless it's fan fiction.
Right. And that's the difference there, you know? Because you know, especially with all that stuff, it just gets kind of crazy in that someone can look at something else that someone put effort into and just be like, oh, no, you're dumb for trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this says, the quote from this is, baby boomer full-time faculty have no idea what the contemporary job market or economy are like, and they give completely useless advice that has no basis in any reality that's existed for at least 25 years. And this says one art educator. And they earn twice as much as the millennial faculty, who actually know what's going on socially and culturally. God, even though the millennials are in catastrophic debt. So it's basically saying, like, you have all these old heads, all these baby boomers that are out here in the art world teaching millennials when they have no idea what a meme is. What a meme is, right? Like, they have no idea what's going on in the art world. They have no idea what young people want from their artwork.
Right.
And that is what... that's basically the entire gist of this article, is that, like, the reason the art world is unfair is because it's elitist, it's run by baby boomers, and apparently you get in enormous debt before you can get out of it, and then you have to die to make money.
Right. Well, I think what you're really saying is millennials are killing the art industry.
Because they want to change it.
I think,
millennials.
Especially with art being elitist and other such things like that, I do think there's a lot of ancestry there from generation to generation, not just this one in particular, right?
Yeah.
And that's what art and like artists like Banksy and other things like that try to show something different, rallies against the norms, right? And that's where your next generation of great artists are going to come from. are the ones that don't necessarily listen to like, oh, you're not relevant because XYZ, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the people of, I feel this way, I'm going to invoke this emotion in other peers, right?
Okay.
Those are going to be your great artists that come out of our generation and things like that. And that's how it's always been, right?
Yeah.
People initially, they didn't appreciate Picasso because he could draw like full beautiful portraits at the age of like 4 or 5. It's really crazy to look at some of his art, right? And then as he aged, he went more and more into the abstract, right?
Yeah.
And as he did that, people were like, oh, this is weird, and then finally a switch flipped where it was like, no, this is creative, this is art. And that was after his generation was established and he was gone, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think your artist will ever really be appreciated in their time, for that very reason of you have this instilled part of society that just says, hey, you know, you can't change how we feel about art, you know what I mean? But in reality, art's supposed to be evolving and ever changing. It's supposed to evoke new emotions and other things like that in you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave you with this one. Okay. So someone said to me, so someone, they didn't say this to me, it was a meme that was going around. I don't know if you've heard of the Scream. It is a portrait. It's an abstract portrait because you brought up Picasso.
Right.
By Edvard Munch.
Yeah, I think it's
a Norwegian expressionist artist, Edvard Munch, from 1893, and he's holding the side of his face and like screaming. Right. Yeah. They were saying, what if he was just a bad artist, and what he was actually trying to draw was a dog with really long ears? And if you see it, you could see the ears and then the long face. Sorry, I'll leave you with that one.
No, that's good. That's
it
solid.
Makes me laugh so hard when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. Which means that art's relevant. That art, regardless of whether you think it's a good piece or not, actually evoked emotion in you. So therefore, it is a good piece, whether you agree with it or not.
I love this one. This
one's
amazing.
It's good. And that's the thing it's all just a form of entertainment.
True.
You know, and that's the best part is if you're having fun, you're enjoying it, and you're not impacting other people, again, i.e. taking their art and selling it as your own, then keep doing what you're doing. Keep enjoying what you're enjoying.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dick about it, and don't say, oh, my stuff has to impact you.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap this up because we've already gone over our time a little bit.
Yeah.
So as always, you could send us anything you want to talk about, even if you have a problem with the show. mediocreadvice@outlook.com. That is our advice line, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep pushing it until people actually send us stuff. And I promise we're not trying to steal your information. That is something that I feel like needs to be said because you're emailing people, and apparently that's just too boomer of us.
Right.
I also have a lot of other downtime activities besides this podcast. I do Twitch, play some dumb video games with all of my friends, including old Jakey boy here. Twitch.tv/ZombieNikon. I have been uploading recently to my YouTube channel again. So if you just go on YouTube and search ZombieNikon, you'll find it. I'll have a link in the description to it. And also, this is sponsored by Finrath.com, as always. My homebrew website where we've created Finrath and Ebrium, 2 continents for play with D&D 5th edition. I have gods and a whole pantheon. I have lore and history and things like that. And it takes place in an Acquisition Incorporated campaign right now, actually. So 5e110. What else do you want to add?
No, that sounds about like a good little summation right there.
Tell your wife, tell your kids.
Yeah, that's right. Tell your wife, tell your kids, tell everyone up in here.
Let's get this music. Let's get this outro going.